You are driving home from work. Same route, same traffic, same podcast. Playing in the background that you chose 3 weeks ago and never changed. You pull into the driveway. You do not remember the last 15 minutes of the drive. You were not drunk. You were not tired. You were absent. You were absent. You walk through the front door. You eat dinner. You scroll. You go to bed. You wake up. You do it again. And somewhere in the middle of this loop, a quiet thought arises. Not a dramatic thought. Not a crisis. Just a whisper. Is this actually my life? Or am I watching it happen to someone who looks like me? If you have ever felt like a tourist in your own existence, like you are reading a script someone else wrote while your real self waits in the green room, this is for you. This channel goes where the comfortable self-help stops. Subscribe if you are ready to stop watching and start living. The spectator life. Most people do not live their lives. They observe them, they manage them, they survive them, but they do not participate in them. Participation requires presence. Presence requires risk. And risk is what the psyche learns to avoid when it has been hurt too many times. The spectator life looks functional from the outside. You show up, you perform, you meet obligations, you maintain relationships, you achieve things, but the achievement feels hollow. The relationship feels like maintenance. The work feels like a script. You are playing a character so convincingly that everyone believes it, including you. Almost. Jung understood that consciousness is not automatic. It is an achievement. It requires effort. It requires energy. And when that energy is not available, when life has demanded too much, when pain has accumulated beyond capacity, when the gap between who you are and who you are expected to be becomes too wide, the psyche does something intelligent. It withdraws. It goes backstage. It lets the autopilot run the show. This is not depression. This is not laziness. This is survival. The psyche preserves the self by removing it from a game it cannot win. But survival is not living, and the psyche knows the difference. The part of you that withdrew did not disappear. It went into waiting. It is still there, still watching, still hoping that the conditions will change and it will be safe to come back. The problem is that the conditions do not change on their own, and the longer the real self stays backstage, the more the autopilot solidifies. The role becomes the person, the performance becomes the identity, and the waiting becomes permanent. This is where you are. Not broken, not lost, just absent. You have been managing your life instead of living it, optimizing instead of experiencing, surviving instead of choosing, and the cost has been subtle but total. You have become a ghost haunting your own house. How you got here? You did not choose this, not consciously. No one wakes up and decides to stop participating in their own existence. The withdrawal happens gradually. It happens through 1,000 small abandonments. You abandoned your anger when it was punished. You abandoned your desire when it was shame. You abandoned your creativity when it was mocked. You abandoned your grief when it was inconvenient. You abandoned your body when it carried too much feeling. You abandoned your truth when it threatened your belonging. Each abandonment was rational. Each was necessary. Each was a trade. You gave away a piece of participation in exchange for safety. And the trades accumulated until the self that was doing the living was so small, so cornered, so monitored, that it simply stopped showing up. Jung would say that the ego, the conscious center of the personality, has abdicated. It has handed the reins to the persona, the mask, the social performance. The persona is not evil. It is a tool, but it is not alive. It does not feel. It does not choose. It reacts. It complies. It performs. And when the ego identifies with the persona, consciousness collapses into mere adaptation. You become a mirror for other people's expectations, a response to external stimuli, a function rather than a person. The unconscious does not accept this abdication quietly. When consciousness withdraws, the unconscious expands to fill the space, not in a helpful way, in a compensatory way. You develop symptoms, chronic anxiety that has no object, depression that has no cause, irritability that surprises you, compulsions that control you, physical tensions that migrate through your body. These are not random malfunctions. They are messages from the part of you that is still trying to live. The unconscious is saying, you are not here. And because you are not here, I am acting out. I am living the life you refuse to live. But I am living it through symptom, through chaos, through the back door. You got here because participation became too dangerous. And you stayed here because you forgot that danger is not the only thing that exists. There is also aliveness, and aliveness requires the very participation you have been avoiding. What participation actually means. Participation is not productivity. This is the first misunderstanding to correct. You can be incredibly busy and completely absent. You can work 80 hours a week and never touch your own life. You can raise children, build a company, maintain a marriage, and do all of it from behind glass. Productivity is output. Participation is presence. They are not the same. Participation is not happiness either. You do not participate by chasing good feelings. Good feelings are often the byproduct of participation, but they are not the goal. Sometimes participation means sitting with grief. Sometimes it means holding anger. Sometimes it means making a choice that everyone around you hates. Participation is not pleasant. It is real. Jung defined the psyche as a self-regulating system. But regulation requires feedback, and feedback requires contact. If you are not in contact with your own experience, if you are dissociated, numb, automated, then the system cannot regulate. It swings between extremes, manic energy and dead exhaustion, compulsive action and paralyzed withdrawal, rage and apathy. The psyche is trying to get your attention. It is trying to force you back into the room, because without you, it cannot do its work. Participation means re-entering the room. It means ending the exile of the self. It means feeling what you feel while you feel it, noticing what you notice while you notice it, choosing what you choose while you choose it. This sounds simple. It is the hardest thing you will ever do, because the moment you start participating, you start encountering everything you have been avoiding. The grief, the rage, the desire, the truth, the life that is actually yours, not the life you have been performing. The cost of watching. The spectator pays a price. They do not notice until it is almost too late. The price is time, not time wasted, time missed. You do not get these years back. The years you spent on autopilot are gone. You were there, but you were not present. The memories are thin. The experiences are flat. The relationships are sketches rather than portraits. You have been alive, but you have not accumulated life. The price is relationship. You cannot connect from behind glass. The people in your life sense your absence even when they cannot name it. They feel the management. They feel the performance. They feel that they are relating to a role, not to you, and they respond by withdrawing themselves, or by demanding more performance, or by finding someone else who is actually there. Your absence creates a loneliness that no amount of togetherness can fix, because the loneliness is not for other people. It is for yourself. The price is capacity. The self that does not participate atrophies. Like a muscle that is not used, your capacity for joy shrinks. Your capacity for grief shrinks. Your capacity for desire, for anger, for love, for creation. All of it diminishes. You become smaller, narrower, more brittle. The range of what you can feel and do contracts until you are living in a corridor. Safe perhaps, but suffocating. The price is meaning. Meaning does not come from achievement. It comes from engagement, from the felt sense that you are in contact with something real, that your choices matter, that your presence makes a difference. The spectator life feels meaningless because it is meaningless, not in a philosophical sense, in a practical sense. You are not contributing yourself to anything. You are contributing a performance, and performances do not generate meaning. They generate applause, or they generate nothing, and the nothing is what you feel. Jung treated people who arrived at this point, successful people, accomplished people, people who had done everything right and felt nothing. They had optimized their lives out of existence. They had managed their way into meaninglessness, and the treatment was not to give them more strategies. It was to demand their presence, to drag them back into the room of their own experience, to make them participate, however painful, however raw, however uncertain that participation might be. The moment of return. There is a moment. It is different for everyone, but it has the same structure. You are in the middle of something ordinary. A conversation, a drive, a shower, a meal, and suddenly, without warning, you feel it. The self that has been backstage touches the glass. It makes contact. For a second, you are present. You feel the water on your skin. You hear the tone in the other person's voice. You taste the food. You see the sky. And the contrast is devastating, because in that second you realize how long you have been gone. This moment is not comfortable. It is often excruciating, because it shows you the gap between the life you are living and the life you could be living, between the self you are presenting and the self that is waiting. The temptation is to pull back, to retreat into the autopilot, to let the glass fog over again, because the gap is too wide. The return feels too hard. The self that has been absent feels too weak to take the wheel. But that moment is an invitation. The psyche is offering you a doorway. It is saying, you can come back now. Not all at once, not perfectly, but you can start. You can choose in this next second to be where you are, to feel what you are feeling, to say what you are thinking, to do what you actually want. One choice, then another, then another. The return is not a single event, it is a sequence of participations, each one small, each one real, each one building the muscle that atrophied while you were away. If this is naming something you have been feeling, subscribe to this channel. We do not offer escape here, we offer return. The practices of presence. How do you participate again? Not by making a grand plan, not by revolutionizing your life, by practicing presence in the places where you have been absent. The first practice is attention to sensation. The body is the anchor of presence. You cannot think your way back into your life. You have to feel your way back. Notice your feet on the floor. Notice the weight of your hands. Notice your breath, not as a meditation technique, but as the simple fact of being alive. When you are dissociated, you live in your head. The return requires descending, from the skull to the chest, from the chest to the gut, from the gut to the ground. The body is not a vehicle you drive. It is the place where you live. Start living there again. The second practice is honesty in small things. You do not have to confess your deepest secrets. You have to stop lying about the small stuff. When someone asks how you are, and you are not fine, say something true. Not the whole truth. Something true. When you do not want to do something, say no. When you do want something, say yes. These small dishonesties are the mortar that holds the wall of absence in place. Each small truth removes a brick. The third practice is emotional contact. You have been avoiding your feelings by managing them, by analyzing them, by explaining them away, by medicating them, by distracting from them. Participation means feeling them. Participation means feeling them, not acting on them, not being controlled by them, just feeling them. The grief that makes your chest ache, the anger that makes your jaw tight, the desire that makes your stomach flutter, the fear that makes your shoulders rise. These sensations are not problems to be solved. They are information about where you are. They are the self trying to re-establish contact. Let it. The fourth practice is choice. The autopilot life is a life without choice. You do what is expected, what is efficient, what is safe. Participation requires choosing, even small choices, what to eat, what to wear, what to listen to, what to say. The act of choosing, however minor, reactivates the ego. It reminds the psyche that someone is home, that the self is not just reacting, it is directing. Over time, small choices become big choices, but they all start with the willingness to choose at all. The fifth practice is encounter. Not performance, not management, encounter. Real contact with another person where you are actually present, where you are not calculating your response, where you are not monitoring their reaction, where you are not performing a role, where you are simply there with them in whatever form you actually take. This is terrifying if you have been absent for a long time, because encounter requires vulnerability, and vulnerability was what made you leave in the first place. But encounter is also the fastest route back. Other people are mirrors. When you are present with them, you see yourself, and when they are present with you, they hold the space that makes it safe to stay. The unconscious becomes ally. When you start participating again, something shifts in the unconscious. It stops acting out. The symptoms that have been haunting you begin to change, not because you have fixed them, but because you are no longer absent. The unconscious no longer needs to scream to get your attention. It can speak normally, through dreams, through intuition, through the subtle feelings that guide you toward what is alive and away from what is dead. Jung's method of active imagination becomes possible only when participation resumes. You cannot dialogue with the unconscious while you are dissociated. The unconscious does not negotiate with absence. It demands presence. When you are present, you can engage the figures that arise. You can ask them what they want. You can hear the wisdom that has been trying to reach you. The shadow that was sabotaging your life becomes a source of energy. The anima or animus that was distorting your relationships becomes a guide to wholeness. The self that was pulling you toward your future becomes visible. But all of this requires you to be in the room. The dreams change. They become less violent, less chaotic, less desperate. They become more like conversations. The unconscious recognizes that you are back, and it adjusts its communication accordingly. This is not magic. It is relationship. You have re-established contact with the part of yourself that you abandoned, and relationships heal when both parties show up. The paradox of active surrender. There is a paradox at the heart of participation. You cannot force it. The harder you try to be present, the more you perform presence. The more you demand aliveness, the more you create pressure. Participation is not an achievement, it is a surrender. But it is an active surrender, a chosen release, a decision to stop managing and start meeting. Jung understood this through his study of Eastern philosophy, the Tao. The way that cannot be forced, the action that emerges from being rather than from will. You do not participate by trying harder. You participate by stopping the trying that has been keeping you away, the trying to be good, the trying to be successful, the trying to be acceptable, the trying to be safe. All of that trying is what exhausted you. All of that trying is what made absence necessary. The return requires a different kind of effort. Not the effort of striving, the effort of allowing, of permitting yourself to be where you are, to feel what you feel, to want what you want, to fail, to be inconvenient, to be too much, to be not enough, the effort of dropping the performance and letting the real self be seen. This is the hardest effort because it looks like no effort at all. It looks like giving up. And in a way, it is. It is giving up the illusion that you can manage your way into a life worth living. What participation changes? When you start participating again, the world does not change, but your experience of it changes completely. Work becomes engagement rather than endurance. You are no longer just completing tasks, you are bringing yourself to them, even the mundane ones. The quality of your attention transforms the quality of the activity. You are not washing dishes. You are feeling water, feeling texture, performing a ritual of care. You are not answering emails. You are communicating with another person, however briefly, from a place of presence. Relationships become real. The people around you sense the shift. They may not know what changed, but they feel that you are there, that you are seeing them, that you are responding from yourself rather than from a script. Some relationships will not survive this. The ones that were built on your absence will crumble when you show up, because your presence demands their presence. And not everyone is ready for that, but the relationships that survive will deepen in ways you could not have planned. They will become encounters rather than transactions. Time changes. The past loses its grip, not because you forget it, but because you are no longer living in it. You are no longer rehearsing old injuries. You are no longer repeating old patterns. The future loses its tyranny, not because you stop planning, but because you are no longer sacrificing the present for a projected tomorrow. You are here, now. And now is the only place where anything actually happens. Your body changes. The tensions that were holding suppressed experience begin to release, not all at once, but gradually. You breathe deeper, you move differently, you sleep differently. The body recognizes that it is no longer being asked to carry what the self refused to feel. It becomes an ally rather than a burden. Most importantly, meaning returns. Not because you found the right philosophy, not because you achieved the right goal, but because you are generating it through contact. Meaning is the byproduct of participation. It cannot be pursued directly. It can only emerge from the felt sense that you are in relationship with your own experience. That you are not watching from the balcony. You are on the stage. You are in the dance. You are living. The fear of coming back. You are afraid to participate again. This is not a guess. It is a fact. The fear is real. And it is intelligent. You withdrew for a reason. The world hurt you. Participation made you vulnerable. And your psyche is not stupid. It will not send the self back into a war zone without protection. The fear says, if I come back, I will feel everything. The grief I have been avoiding. The rage I have been suppressing. The desire that terrifies me. The truth that will destroy my relationships. The fear says, if I come back, I will have to choose. And choosing means risking. And risking means losing. The fear says, if I come back, I will no longer be able to hide behind the excuse of circumstance. I will be responsible. I will be accountable. I will be alive. And aliveness is dangerous. All of this is true. Participation does make you feel everything. It does require choice. It does remove your excuses. It does make you responsible. It does make you alive. And aliveness is dangerous. But the alternative is not safety. The alternative is slow death. The death of the self by absence. The death of the possible life by withdrawal. The death of meaning by spectatorship. You are not choosing between danger and safety. You are choosing between the danger of living and the danger of dying without having lived. Jung would say that the fear is the threshold, the guardian at the gate. It does not mean you are not ready. It means you are at the edge of something real. The fear is the signal that participation is possible. If you were not close, you would not feel the fear. You would feel nothing. The fear is aliveness knocking, and your job is not to eliminate the fear. Your job is to move with it, to let it come with you, to participate while afraid, because that is the only way participation ever happens. The daily return. Participation is not a destination. It is a daily practice, a moment-by-moment choice. You will not arrive at a state of permanent presence. You will oscillate. You will leave and return. Leave and return. Leave and return. The autopilot is seductive. It is easy. It is safe. And it will call you back. Especially when you are tired. Especially when you are stressed. Especially when life demands more than you think you have. The practice is to notice when you have left. To catch yourself in the act of absence. To feel the moment when you start performing instead of being. When you start managing instead of encountering. When you start thinking about your life instead of living it. And in that moment to choose return. Not with self-judgment. Not with frustration. With simple recognition. Oh, I left. I am back now. This recognition is the heartbeat of consciousness. It is the pulse that keeps you alive. Each return is a small resurrection. Each choice to be present is a small revolution. Over time, the returns become faster. The absences become shorter. The presence becomes deeper. You are not becoming a different person. You are becoming the person you already are. The person who was waiting backstage. The person who is ready to participate. Conclusion. You have been absent long enough, not because you are bad, not because you are weak, because you are hurt, because you are exhausted, because the world demanded a performance you could not sustain while remaining real. But the performance is over now, or it can be, starting now. Carl Jung's psychology is not a theory. It is an invitation to come back to your own life, to end the exile of the self, to stop watching and start moving, to stop managing and start meeting, to stop performing and start being. The psyche does not want your perfection, it wants your presence. The self does not want your achievement, it wants your participation. You do not need a better plan. You do not need a new identity. You do not need to fix yourself. You need to show up in your body, in your feelings, in your choices, in your relationships, in this next breath, in this next word, in this next moment. That is all. That is everything. The life you have been watching is yours. The self you have been missing is you. The participation you have been avoiding is the only thing that will make any of this matter. Not someday. Now. If this named the absence you have been feeling, subscribe to this channel. We do not offer escape. We offer return. Like this video if you are ready to come back. Share it with someone who has been gone too long. Someone who is watching their life from behind glass. Comment below with one place in your life where you are ready to participate again. One conversation, one feeling, one choice, one moment. Not the whole thing, just the next step. You are not too late. You are not too broken. You are not too far gone. You are right on time. And the life that has been waiting for you is still here. Welcome back. Goodbye.